Joined by Rebetswa Koradila, who's the head of middle markets at Standard Bank. Rebetswa, thanks for joining us in the studio today. Great having you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, this concept of the middle markets is an important one. We just had the Reserve Bank come through and cut our GDP forecast to 0%, basically no growth. Where does this leave the middle markets? It's going to get a lot worse for these people.
It gives a lot of challenge for banks to start thinking differently. What this simply means is that we all are going to fight for a smaller pie. So the company that's going to come out victorious is one that's going to have their clear strategy articulated out there, go and fetch the right customers, have the right proposition for the customers, and make sure that you give good service.
We just had our local government elections. Who's your favorite to win?
The EFF.
Which party do you think is talking the most about the need to fill this particular gap? I think that's what I'm getting.
It is very important for us to understand that we have to service the needs of our people on the ground. So all the parties, whichever one comes out victorious, the narrative or the doing must now translate to doing for the people on the ground. So it's very important that whoever comes out victorious actually solves the bread and butter problems of the people. So I'm agnostic of whatever party that comes across, but the party that, for me, whoever comes across must just solve people problems.
How bad is this problem? Can you give us some numbers? How big is it? Is it growing, expanding, this particular gap in our economy where we have people who are possibly earning salaries but they're not earning enough?
Certainly.
Yeah.
So in terms of the middle market, we see that we're declining from a taxpayer's base of 4.9 million. We're now sitting at about 3.7 million, and this is declining year on year. 5 years from today, if we do nothing or if we continue to maintain the current GDP numbers, we will certainly be at 1 million middle market customers. So now if you've got your middle base not having employment, you start having a lot of other social challenges.
Now, it's fair to say that the government and the private sector aren't seeing eye to eye on this issue. What are you doing to kind of close that particular gap, improve the communication, make sure that there are policies that are more supportive of this market?
We certainly, outright, we certainly have not found the sweet spot in private sector and government partnership. And because of that, we find that there's a lot of inefficient use of resources. What we are trying to do from a private sector perspective is to rally our funds in the CSI space, particularly in the education space. Standard Bank is very big on education, but what we could do better, when we partner with government, we could start influencing a very big pot of money if we can put it all collaboratively, not only as Standard Bank, but as private sector at large. So I think we could do better in partnership.
Now, your competition, specifically FNB, seems to be rolling out a lot of products in this space. Fair to say that you're playing catch up to them?
Not necessarily. So one factoid that people don't quite know about Standard Bank is we lead in coming up with innovation. One specific example is the e-wallet or instant money solution. Standard Bank invented that. But because we were not so aggressive in the marketing or coming above the line and letting our customers know about the products, we often seem to be perceived to be playing catch up to FNB. SnapScan is another such example. We came up with the technology, but because of our poor visibility, people seem to perceive FNB as the technology frontier. But Standard Bank has got a lot of products. We certainly are match for match in FNB, but we're leading in the technology space. We're getting our house in order in telling our customers about it.
What are your predictions for our economy? 0% from the Reserve Bank? Do you see us heading towards a recession?
Yes, I'm feeling that we will have a recession. I still have nerves around a potential downgrade in the second half of this year. So it's looking a little bit gloomy right now.
What does that mean if we have the downgrade at the end of the year?
The downgrade layman term, it simply means that people will find it harder to save and invest. People will find it harder to go out in the shops and spend their rent in terms of consumption. It will be more expensive, and you'll have very little to save.
Certainly some dark days ahead, but there are things that we can do right in the interim to prevent it. What do we need to do?
Yes. 3 top things that come to mind. Let's keep our political frontiers clean and crisp. The current election went smooth, so that's a tick. Let's make sure that as private sector or government in terms of partnership, let's be transparent. And let's make sure that we communicate. For example, as Starndard Bank, we communicate to our customers to prepare for the impact that they could potentially feel in the pockets.
Now, what do you think the impact of AIDS is going to be on this market? How bad is the AIDS problem?
Please, can you just repeat that?
The impact of AIDS on the growth of this market. How bad is AIDS in your view?
Do you know, AIDS is a very interesting phenomenon because for the past 10 years we've made inroads, particularly around the mother-to-child transmission. We're really good at bringing out bringing down the numbers. We are struggling in the middle market, particularly this blesser-blessee concept is starting to show a slight increase around females between the age of 19 and 25, which then simply means some of these social celebrated concepts are having a very negative impact on young females.
Now, isn't there a bit of a paradox in the bank trying to target this market that is, you know, a struggling market, charging them for your services? There's a bit of a paradox there in that people, they're not earning a lot, but you want to obviously give them loans. We've just seen this problem with African Bank. African Bank imploded.
Yep.
They gave out unsecured loans to people that couldn't afford them. Aren't we going down a rocky road here?
So this is a catch-22 situation because in the middle market, these are people that are growing their liabilities portfolio. They're growing in life stage, which means they need houses, they need cars to be able to go to work, they need access to credit cards, especially young 25-year-olds who are tapping into the world of entrepreneurship. They need access to some form of lending so they can marshal into their life. So it's a balance. We have to be able to afford them lending, but you must afford lending responsibly. So put differently, you can't give lending recklessly. You have got to put clear structures in place to make sure that you lend to people who can afford to pay you back.
Okay. Now, we did some research and we noticed that you don't have a Twitter account. Why are you too scared to go out and air your views? So surely it's important to be out there with digital innovation, being out there as a head of this particular market, talking to this market on Twitter. The likes of the recent Chris Hart incident, for example, scaring you away?
Not necessarily. We have got a Starndard Bank Twitter account which we reach out to our customers to, and it's got a far-reaching in terms of numbers than my personal one. But majority of the middle market customers actually prefer a face-to-face interaction. They go into the branches, they want to meet with us in the front line in the branches, and they're quite comfortable in that way.
Aren't we moving towards branchless banking though quite quickly? We have smartphone accessibility now to more Africans, you know, more than one smartphone per African, for example.
Yeah.
It's a big growth area is driving the branchless concept. So how do you match that? Face-to-face desire, because obviously I think awareness education is important.
Yes.
You can't just have people clicking on loans and products.
Yes.
But how do we bridge that divide?
So it's a very interesting comment that you're making, because some part of our research has found that there's transactions that customers prefer to do on digital platforms, and there's transactions that customers prefer to actually do it in the branch. So we have to strike our balance quite well, because if we then go to the one extreme and eradicate the branches, we'll lose a lot of our customer base.
All right, so now we've just received a press release from the EFF. You mentioned the EFF jokingly up front.
Yes.
We still don't know your political affiliation. But and they're saying that they are going to march to your building, and they've got a letter of demand they want to hand to you tomorrow for overcharging people in this middle market. A lot of their members are saying, complaining, bank charges are too high. They're marching tomorrow, coming to give you a letter. What's your response to the EFF?
We're open to engage with any disgruntled customers. We've got clear structures in the branch to explain what we charge for. Certainly we acknowledge that we can't charge customers if we do not add value. So we strive in terms of customer solutions to make sure that we package our products such that we give value to the customers. As for the EFF, we're really open to engagement, and we'll be ready to receive their referendum when they come through.
Well, Rebecca, thanks very much for the time and great chatting to you.
Thank you very much.